Bartz here with the Puzzled Life. Hello everyone. We are here today with my amazing friend Lauren.
Hello.
And last month we had my amazing friend Catherine on, who is an occupational therapist, and we went over the amazing services they have to offer. And so we're just going to kind of do a quick recap today about what quick sensory input activities that you can do at home when you're out and you're just thinking that your child, or maybe yourself, is just really seeking that sensory input behavior. So, Lauren, again, cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks.
So, I obviously am an ABA therapist, so the OT side of things isn't as familiar to me, but I know that when I'm in therapy with my clients, a lot of them are in OT, and so taking some of those techniques into my session has been really helpful, and obviously for parents as well to be able to utilize those techniques at home, at school, in the community, whatever it may be. So sensory processing is an issue that a lot of individuals on the spectrum struggle with. Mm-hmm. Sensory processing disorder is something that's a little bit different. It's a separate diagnosis, and people without autism can have that diagnosis as well. Sensory processing issues are a little bit different. It's not as extreme per se, but it definitely is something that people on the spectrum deal with. And so I just kind of wanted to talk about the difference between sensory overload and sensory deprivation. So it differs between people and it differs between situations. So sensory overload, if you think the typical, you're in a store and the lights are bright and the music's loud and you're just kind of feeling overwhelmed, that would be the easiest way to describe sensory overload. Sensory deprivation is when somebody's seeking out extra sensory input just due to an imbalance in what they are receiving through their environment. Okay. So yeah, it's different for every kid. I know for your two boys it's a lot different between the two of them.
Yes.
And I know that we have kind of figured out their niche of what works for them depending on the situation. So we were going to talk about 3 tips and tricks that we've used and that you guys can use at home or in the community or on vacation or whatever it may be without a therapist present, which I think is the most important thing, just to have it be an accessible resource to everybody.
Right.
So do you want to start with the first one?
Yes. So the first technique, I actually had my oldest son practice it on me, and it was not my favorite, but he enjoyed it. So what it's called is the dumpling, and I think there's probably 1,000,001 other names it may be called, but we call it the dumpling at our house. So basically what you do is you start with a blanket that's larger than yourself, and you make it like a pizza in a triangle. Shape a triangle, and then you sit with the pointed part of the triangle at the top with your legs crisscrossed, so it's facing you. And then you put that part in your lap, and then you wrap the other sides of the triangle around your body, and you do a tight little knot in the back. So
I would describe it as like a grown-up swaddle. So
yes.
If your baby is feeling kind of like they're out of control a little bit, they can't sleep, you swaddle them and you make sure that they feel safe and comforted. And I think the same thing goes for people that need that extra sensory input. So it looks like a giant swaddle to me.
Yes, and I did not feel that calm and ease that my son does, so maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I think for Liam, it's definitely something that he craves, like that hug, that snuggle, that comfort, and that's something that other people hate. So it just depends on the person.
So the second wrap, I did not do it. We did it's called a burrito wrap, and you can actually do this by yourself, but with Liam and younger kids, I definitely suggest adult supervision for sure. But you lay out the blanket and then you have them closer to the edge and you literally just roll them like a burrito. And they love, again, it's that tight, secure feeling. And I think my kids even like the rolling process, which
it's something
not
that's supposed to
uncommon.
also be fun.
Right.
It's not, obviously, in times of a meltdown, it can be really helpful to calm their body down to equilibrium, sensory equilibrium. But it's also preventative. Like, we've done it when he feels fine and he feels great. And he likes it. He thinks it's hilarious. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then our next quick technique that we were going to talk about was animal jumps. And
These
there
are really fun.
are so many different kinds of animal jumps. Our two favorite that we've done is the frog jump, which is basically like a squat with your hands down the ground and you jump up. Kills my knees. But the kids love them, and that is such a great tool to use when you're leaving the store or when you're at the grocery store and you start seeing your child just feel a little bit more fidgety and they're getting restless and you're like, let's just do some jumps. The other one that we did, which probably shouldn't do at the grocery store, was the slithery snake with the arms at the side and then they have to scooch, which is also a very good core workout as well. But those were great techniques for Neil. Or just I really feel like active kids that just need to get refocused, and that's sensory input, correct?
Yes. So
learning, that's exciting.
Especially during therapy when I would see him get a little fidgety, I would have him do the frog jumps or jumping jacks, or we went through a push-up phase. I mean, it's something that's supposed to be fun and easy for him to get his wiggles out, and that's also great for school. Having them ask for a little sensory break just to be able to get some of it out. Trampolines are great for that as well. So it just depends on the person, and they're meant to be something that's fun and interactive and easy to do anywhere. They are fun.
They are fun.
I can't do the frog jump, but it looked fun.
And then the third one that we wanted to talk about was brushing.
Yes, the
which
sensory
we're
brush.
not really going to. I mean, we can.
We can demonstrate it. So I was taught this by the OT at the center that I worked for to do specifically with Neil, but it works for a lot of kids. And the way that she taught me how to do it is you each joint, you want to compress and extend a couple times, and you don't want to be too rough, but you do want to give them that pressure that they want. That pressure, and then do the same thing at the elbow and the same thing at the shoulder, and you can also do it on their legs. And then roll your sleeve up a little bit. And then you want to use the brush. And do you remember where you got this? I'm sure you can get them on Amazon.
Yes,
or
no,
wherever.
they're very easy to get. I purchased
soft
that at
bristles.
our OT, our occupational.
Yep. And then you just take this, and you don't want it to tickle, but you don't want it to hurt. So just like smooth, calm.
So
You
I
can
was
do it
taught
all
just
over.
like down.
Yep. And that same thing, pressure. Yep.
Or was it up?
I think
clearly
down.
do it a lot.
I think down. But yeah, it just gives a little bit of extra sensory input, and obviously this is something that's portable. You've brought on vacation, and it's just easy to use.
And so Liam hates it. It like, feels like tickling, but Neil adores this. I wasn't a huge fan. My husband though loves this.
Yeah, and it depends on the person. And I think that Liam has a lot more sensory overload, and Neil needs a lot of extra sensory input. So that's just an example of how two kids with the same diagnosis, obviously the spectrum, it varies. So
100%.
But yeah, those are some things that are portable. You can do them anywhere, and we found that they were helpful for your kids.
Yes. To get them focused, to get the wiggles out, and just to, especially, it helped if we did it before a meltdown, if we saw it. It just kind of, it made the...
You see them kind of getting to here, and you want to implement these before they necessarily
the
get to that.
outbursts take place.
Right.
But yeah.
And I mean, if you and I can do them, anybody can do them. I'm
Well,
not
that's
an OT.
100% accurate.
I'm not an OT, and we did those when I was doing therapy with them. So
It was great.
yeah.
All right, well, that is all we have today. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this great episode, make sure that you
Follow and subscribe to our YouTube channel and our Facebook page.
That's right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank God she's here.
We make such a great team.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you the first Monday for next month.